So it's not until chapter 15 that we start talking about the different climate types, but remember, climate is the climate of a region is kind of generally what its atmospheric conditions are supposed to be like for that time of year. And two things when we distinguish a climate is basically the temperature and the precipitation. And so when we talk about climate change in this, in chapter 14, we're talking about basically changes in surface temperature, excuse me. So there are all sorts of hints that are globally that our surface temperatures are warming. And one of them is that the large bodies of water, the oceans that used to always have ice cover year-round, are thawing. And so that's kind of what you're seeing here. Now it's complicated to get a fix on all the little variables that go into our climate. So for instance, human beings do have an influence on our atmosphere, as we learned in the previous chapter, as we especially as we burn fossil fuels. There are changes in the sun's output, and this year 2012, of course, we're seeing we're approaching a solar max. We are experiencing differences in the amount of precipitation, where it precipitates. Of course, changes in the composition of the atmosphere. Our cloud cover is changing, where the clouds are and the types of clouds there are. The outgoing radiation is changing. And some of this is this cyclical change in the surface temperature of the Earth is something that's gone clear back from before man ever entered the scene, but it's just complicated. We talked about the butterfly effect in forecasting weather, and it doesn't take much to affect a big change, perhaps. So this is how complicated. You see all these interactions. In Unit 1, we talked about the geosphere and the hydrosphere and the biosphere and the atmosphere, and they are all interrelated. So this is just a kind of a pretty picture. I mean, you can almost imagine within this one image, seeing the biosphere or life interact with the atmosphere. The geosphere, of course, is the Earth. Kind of you see the hydrological cycle, or the hydrosphere here with this large body of water down here. So now, at the end of this chapter, we're going to talk about how scientists are actually coming up with models to predict what the climate, not the weather, but to predict what the climate is going to be like hundreds of years from now. So it's kind of like weather forecasting day to day, except goes out a lot further.